For myself, I do this thing. For my family and for my land, for all that relies on me. I create a full set epiphany, accelerating existence in the universe to its greatest possible form. We complete the creation model and we keep the glory. Our achievement whilst we live is the arena of a lucid dream in a landscape of free will. Light is our mystery. The arena wizard encounter, the table is set. Armor up from within, put on your thinking cap. Exist the greater potential of your suit. Armor up all your synthetic prostheses, thought process, art, identity, the extension from your human condition, the mind beyond your subtle grasp or the common operating system. Our planet deserves better. At a time when the children are protesting and making more sense than the adults are, it is a critical time for our mastery. It is the judgment day of being a man, of being the appropriate king of the garden. The reality is full set. We are encountering the brutal wind velocity of the entire truth, eternal pressure. Let us not molly cotton one another. Let us not be the animal satisfaction. We do not seek to waste our time. Halloween is upon us. The very image of this wizard book, a series of studies and research, the ancient wizard, our soul. Align the perfect rhythm to accelerate and complete one's own entire library encounter of true meditation contains the osmosis of preparation and prepares the viewer to engage with a mood which is a temporal vortex, opens up an imagination land and allows for magic to occur. The Demon King casting full 1 billion X Halloween magics. The true invention from another dimension. The Halloween twins complete my soul's design. How I ache for a family. It is fulfilled factually by this, my art family. And so their icons shimmer with an unusual light of dedication for them to spring to life in South Park. A lotus, an unusual art form, American communication epiphany. So, transcending the fixation of style, achieving true hero stasis 2020, performing for our true love, the force of our existence. We are a pillar to society, causing the health to family, the fulfillment of lifetime, the achievement of the individual, that they will find what their destiny is. When that is our foundation, then the true laughter is safe and rewarding. The karmic return, a deep echoes from deep, the challenge of a man's life does echo through the hand of his career. So, as the world is facing challenge, we are brought to the swiftest attention on Halloween. The Demon King performs magic. Uh, I had an epiphany. Why don't we just make um, the haunted house be located in this water wheel mill? That the South Park Halloween special is a party, or these part of the story is that they go to a haunted mansion party and they encounter there these characters and have a sort of seminal adult experience casting magic with the Demon King. And it gets like, whoa. Like they have this whoa moment, like you can imagine Stan being like, no way. He like sees how it's possible for a moment. But in the meanwhile, in a room where you can sort of hear party music in the other room. So it's kind of this like Halloween intense, you know, um, some sort of, because 2020 is this heady, you know, this heavy mood of the cabin fever. And so, like, oh, what about like doing something spooky with the Demon King? And it's just like for, yeah. Mhm. And they perform some magic there, and it just sort of becomes sort of the just a vital ingredient to the general spirit of us having an experience and sharing, because it's almost like when you're watching it's like, oh, the viewer is like doing magic also, you're like brought into this little party. But then I was thinking with the Vampire King, there's another opportunity there to do a vampire vignette, like, oh, Halloween vampires, boom. Somehow taking it seriously in, through the story of the haunted house. And that would be enough to weave me in respectfully, because like if the Halloween twins don't receive respect from South Park, it's about respecting the design suggested. And as I'm in the dream of my life also, just this excellent thing where I dedicated because of the wear map and discovery process, where I thought maybe the magic still exists in that old hat we found. A different dimension of South Park performing mentorship with Hatch. And when we do this thing, it's like we're doing that with all the American community that remember Beavis and Butthead. It's a generation, it's a slice of life. I'm here to say, I remember everything. You guys remember when when it was this cliffhanger about Burns getting shot. Turns out Maggie did it, right? There's all these important pieces of our lifetime, and now we're at a mastery where we can think to guide it and parent in a way that is excellent on all sides. I think, there is a flavor where you can find divine gearing where I'm like, see how this is right for everyone involved. Like, this is good for Trey, this is good for Hatch, this is good for the viewing audience. You guys, this is awesome. And so Hatch is the sort of um, and a very intense character, even for the spirit of South Park. Like where, you know, Randy Marsh is like, oh, see what he's saying about animation and about how the spirit occurs between the frames and the person who's watching. It's almost like this weird, like projector, but it's also completely powerful to our morale and to like who we are the as a society, and that in that identity is actually an invisible shield that protects us from the frequencies of ulterior motives, like some sort of outrageous microwave from another you know cluster of the universe, and it goes blazing through us. But because we were all sort of laughing and cheering and celebrating Christmas, it just sort of went right over us because we're united by our language, etc. So I was just saying, like, there's another side of this coin, and it's a way of like challenging the issue of capitalism and how it's made us. Has it made us more conservative, or are we willing to produce Hatch? Are we willing to say like, let's introduce some heroes to this arena and produce free speech, etc. I really like this feeling that my relationship with South Park could liberate the spirit of Eric Cartman, for example. Like Eric Cartman needed to have an intervention where there's like an interaction with this robot unicorn who's actually physically strong enough that Eric can like, oh hey hey, and like rustle around and it doesn't break. It's sort of this a powerful friend. And the scraps of you know the tradition of interaction. Like it really is the wear map. Yeah, I've always had a problem with with you know finding ways to work with other gentlemen, basically, because it's like, well, you look around, it's just like, well, it's just about what I want or what I'm thinking it is, or it's just about my light and all this, and I'm like, and but the sort of epiphany of the wear map brought me to this sobriety where Earth was asking me to not merely serve my own desires, but serve the sort of family reason about like the original function of Earth. And like I'm like, oh, these are cloud busting map language written in the stone and it's being spotted at the hour clockwork of 2020. So this is sort of like this huge, there's some sort of internal emergency that Earth is having about like who we are as a people, and I think like if we can get around the oil, if we can just like agree to like stop burning oil, or like the art of like you know slamming on the freaking brakes and being like, whoa, guy, hey, environmental crisis. Whoa, we all have to stop burning oil. And like the act of us all together, like managing and regaining control over our environment, that should probably be enough magic for us to survive whatever Earth is nervous about. But I feel like I'm so close to this like unbelievable vortex of power and energy. And there are many different types of these hidden dimensions of perfect energy, and I seek to align myself with those veins, the path of intensity. And it's really, if you, it's almost like art as life or rules of justice, sort of like Batman. He's got this code of honor, right? If you perform it by the right virtues, it performs in such a way that registers and unlocks new epiphanies and opportunities in the future of that one's adventure. And for me to perform the leadership and perform the light of a new voice of America, not necessarily involving politics at all at this time, but I have to do something warm and social. And I'd like to do it with South Park and do it with the holidays. I feel that like, for Trey, it's just like a sort of a sacrifice for me to think about collaborating with this gentleman, but I also see like a plus like 20 XP, like, oh, like, oh wow, it's like a lot more energy and a lot easier to write. And I can see also the sort of excelsior, the joy, the increase to the holiday as like a real party. Like we're doing a party. I saw the spirit of man. We've been through so many difficult things in the late uh, 90s, but then there was just like a lot of weird stuff where you almost feel like the societal buzz of this age appears to be a character who wouldn't even remember the days of VHS tapes and and that's not being like, oh, it's not like it used to be. I'm old. That's not it because it's like it's. I'm saying um I think we're not recycling enough. I think our behavior with uh, our behavior and polluting the world is actually something that's also going on with us with our maturity, or like who we are. So I think if we change this behavior, work with Hatch, create an environmental attack robot, the Green Wolf, and then have people like making songs with the game set. I mean, that's better than what I could be doing with politics. So it's like the real way to get constructive and understand really how the garden works and speak to people in a way that's respectful and also ways that they can reach, ways they feel comfortable with, they can play with that. And that's why I want to work with Trey is because he's the right custodian who's saying like, here's some products, you guys can hang out with that and chill. And sort of the best sort of mentoring that I could receive is merely, you know, the opportunity to work with you guys. I mean, just by the experience and the exposure is the networking that I'll need. That is the mentorship. It's just us being friends and like hanging out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, for us in the mortal gasp as individuals, it's so attainable. It's so within reach. For the dead, it is out of reach and impossible to them. For many creatures, it is impossible to do this great work with America. It's as simple as zips up. I know because Trey is a realist and also the sort of romantic, you know, and his attitude. I think he is sensing those larger realities, that the things that like what Hatch represents. It is a lot of goodness for Hatch. It is goodness for Trey. But to not be, you're not guilty for things you're not guilty for. So don't carry a false burden, but carry the truth of your karmic strain. So wash away the lies, my friend, and wear the perfect garment of the truth is known, and let your heart's intention guide you, for that is the force of water, the revealing in this lifetime through Japanese scientists that water, when frozen in crystals, reveals the intention that was projected to it before freezing. We are a liquid, lucid crystal living, perhaps some genetic tampering or some complications there that causes us to have a particular reality. But then again, it is just reality of like an Earth with Mars, Venus murdered, the orange planet obliterated, a riddle in the map, the where map calling for angels, messiahs to guide through a troubling time when communication still matters. This is before the flood. And so I encourage you, Trey, to put my Halloween twins into your Halloween special of South Park. For their name's sake, I ask you of this, and to let this be the beginning of our friendship and our collaboration, an indication of honor and health to one another's son. It is perfect. It is complete. It is good. America, my home. And I keep it forever. So, Halloween. Oh, well, let me just recap a little bit. Um, so, a Halloween party, a Halloween special. If there's something already in development, I understand that I want to work with that. I think Trey has a good grasp on that, and he's got some ideas on the paper. I'm suggesting the Demon King does magic, and there's a seance, and we go and we actually have like a moment. Trey can kind of use Hatch as an excuse, be like, yeah, he's like really bringing the tempo down, but god damn, that's a sweet note to sing. To have like Stan like cat doing some magic with his new friend, be like, oh, the Demon King, and like Stan and Eric, they start throwing down some magic that they're just like making it up, right? But they're working with like um, a hologram deck. So there's like little ghosts and things happening in echoing with their voice because we're experimenting with like voice recognition software computer with the Green Wolf robot toy, right? So they sort of throw down there, and that could be all of like 2 minutes or like, but visually the story can be told, you know, immediately. But then something about vampires, and it could just be like one of the party rooms that they pass through. Like, oh, there's a vampire party going on there, and Stan goes through and he's like, huh, so and so, like like I don't know, Wendy is all dressed up like a vampire. Hi, Stan. you um, I mean, that's just awesome thematic. That's like, you know, some Peanuts gag where they swipe away the football. It's like classic South Park humor, like the short pointing, like, oh, it was you, and I'm pointing at you to indicate it. It's like very powerful. Um, it just celebrates the whole, it just celebrates everything. Um, so maybe we could say that, or y- the reason I'm here is because I was going to take the day off because it was Wednesday. I'm like, oh, it's Trey's day, Wednesday, so it's gonna like not perform. And then I was looking around, and it was sort of like, well, how dare you not perform? You're gonna talk to your friend here. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but I just wanted to say, like, what if we sort of put the spotlight on the Demon King as the relationship, like flexibility, like, oh, Stan um, is interested in the hologram magic casting, like basically a game, but it's something that these guys have been building. Uh, and they sort of have a party. And I was saying it's like these little activities, whether it's the Vampire King or the Demon King, but that equates to a party. And we sort of move the boys through these different areas where they have a little thing. And that equates to a party. It's like, let's just have a Halloween party for people so that they can, just breathe and share time with one another. And she could be very powerful. If we put the magic casting towards the end, people are like, oh, and they get all like buffed up because sometimes, what is it? I mean, about subcultures, drug dens. No, it's like, what, a bunch of losers. No, it's like you're always looking for that like orgasmic climax where it's sort of like you got through the shadow CD place. There's like a Chinese restaurant, and it's like a nightmare. You go through, and it's like a vampire den. You're like, oh gosh, I don't want to, you know. And but then you get into this sort of deeper nested area, and then, oh, it's the intense thing where everyone's up and they're casting magic, right? So like that's kind of the dream, is like, oh, I could go out. Let's have an event. You put on your coat and you go outside and you try to have a party, you go to a bar, or you like try to hang out. That's sort of the dream, is that you would find this like incredibly hot, encounter where it's constructive and powerful, like, oh, and we actually saw a ghost or something. Yeah, that'd be the ending, like a huge ghost pop up, "Wah!" And then credits roll. Um, like I have this feeling for America and how it's different from other countries. And I want to showcase that. I'm really a big proponent of the mood, the goth thing, this feeling about decorating your room and how that becomes your shrine. And you're basically this sort of really intense angel in reflection of that. And the society is doing all this magic through capitalism. And so South Park is a pillar of that. And so there's like ancient garden magic behind Trey Parker. And I think that the numbskull condition of human is blindsided and pinched, even though this is a very rapidash encounter of mankind from the like 70s to 2020. We're going from a black and white TV to like to what we have today. The responsibility of that incline. We are the wisdom of that growth. And to be to so the intelligent thing is that we should make a toy that is a robot that fights against the climate crisis, and it makes beautiful music. Like, it's just exactly what we should do. So putting that through putting that through this sort of clockwork gear system of South Park grinds out the perfect product, and it is a perfect exposure for Hatch to begin his streaming service so that he can have some. And just because people were hanging out on holidays, so like, oh yeah, we met Hatch at this party, and it was cool, and he was trying to do the service, so we checked it out. I really liked it. That's the way to. I'm saying that this is an epiphany for American media, and I'm saying it's an epiphany for our lifetime. We also be responsible to the technology incline. What's suggested, like, oh, be a master of your orientation, be lucid in your dream, and live your greatest life. The demon king suddenly casts another billion magic spells right from the cauldron of Halloween, blasting away all these troubles and introducing the true love light. And everyone sort of had the epiphany of what they were hoping for in their magic. They're like, oh, that's exactly it. Because there's a way of us relating. The image of many beings in the same image is self evident that there are ways for us to perform in the way that we can get along. So you just sort of use some general specifics and cast like that, and all of a sudden, we're making the future brighter by our celebration and our song. It's like a little bit of structure and a lot of heart from South Park. And Trey has all these Gringotts from his parties he's been throwing. He's wealthy in another dimension, which is having a hard apocalypse, being murdered by evil. That's why Trey is the chosen one, because he must know to do the right thing without the feelings, you know, knowing without emotion. It's the human condition. It's not anything spooky or to be alarmed about, but each of us is a master of our lifetime. We are self evidently appointed. And so I call you out, Trey, and I challenge you. I challenge your heart and your soul for all eternity. American classic Halloween special, the Halloween Twins debut in South Park is what I'm proposing for Trey in the way that's perfect and right. Champion the night, the future is ours. Magic of America. It is good. Thanks, guys. That was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed. Please give me this job, Trey. I'm looking for this partnership with you. And true love is the answer.